Hi everyone, and welcome back to National Graduate Week 2022. I'm Eloise from Career Map, and today we have a really exciting session with the team at Teach First, all about the opportunities there and some advice and tips as well if you're thinking of a career with them. As always, the chat is open for you to ask any questions you have as you go along. If they come into your mind, drop them in the chat. We will probably get to them at the end, but otherwise the speakers might pick them up if they're relevant to whatever they're saying halfway through, so definitely get those in. You can also use the Q&A function, which is just to the side of the chat. There will be things like polls, so make sure you keep an eye on that and definitely give your answers whenever you can. And just to let you know, this session will be recorded, so you will be able to watch it back. I would take notes as well as you go, but if you need to, you can always come back and get extra information. What else? If there's any technical issues, if you can't hear the speakers or see the slides, just drop that in the chat because I will be keeping an eye on that. And other than that, I think that is all from me. So I will hand over to the Teach First team, and yeah, I hope you really enjoy the session.
Hello, everyone. Wonderful to be here today. My name is Catherine. I'm a university recruiter with Teach First. And what that means is I'm one of the people that help you all the way to the front door of our training program that we're talking about today. I'm also joined by my colleague, Jacob.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob, and I'm a member of the application management team here with Teach First, looking specifically after recent graduates in London, as well as in the East and West Midlands.
Brilliant, thank you. So today we'll be looking more about who Teach First are and how we're building a fair education for all and why we need to exist. You'll also hear more about how you can get involved by being part of our graduate training program. I want to kick off though with a video that really demonstrates the importance of the school community.
Back so soon.
Morning.
We're going to lock the doors.
Come on, you don't want to be late on your first day back.
Sorry.
Okay, who's happy to be back in school?
That's good. Is anyone feeling a little bit anxious?
He seems really concerned. Can you just keep an eye on him?
Alright, well done. Let's go from keeper again, and let's see if we can do that better.
Go straight back to your tutor. So I'm just calling to see if there's anything happening at home that we might need to be aware about.
Off your chest.
Catherine, you're on mute.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Absolute classic. So there you saw a short video of how obviously COVID and how impacts that had when students re-entered the classroom. So who are Teach First? Well, Teach First are an education charity, and we are working to build a fair education for all. The fact of the matter is that in this country at this point in time, education simply isn't fair. A child's future should be determined by their potential and how hard they want to work. But more often than not, it's determined by their postcode, where they live and how much their parents earn. And it's a fact that children from disadvantaged postcodes or poorer postcodes are far, far less likely to achieve GCSE grades that they need to go on to higher education. And this slow start in life can last a lifetime, widening that gap in social inequality between rich and poor that's been widened even more by the pandemic. So that's why we exist. And to truly demonstrate this, I'm going to show you a few statistics that really show that in practice. So this first statistic is around children who are eligible for free school meals. So a child is eligible for free school meals if their parent or carer receives a certain level of support from the government. So in front of you are two statistics, and one of them is the percentage of people who are eligible for free school meals who fail to achieve a grade 5 at GCSE English and Maths. So students who fail to basically pass English and Maths at GCSE. So we're going to put up a poll now. So have a vote to think what percentage of that children are failing to achieve grade 5 at GCSE English and Maths. Okay, so it looks like, we'll wait a little bit for all the votes to come in, but it looks like the vast majority of you, about 48% of you, 66% of you have gone for 48%. Stop the poll there. So unfortunately, it's actually 78%. So 78% of children eligible for free school meals will not pass GCSE English and Maths. And if they don't pass GCSE English and Maths, that means that they are not going to go on to do their A-levels. And it also means that they are not going to be eligible for the vast majority of apprenticeships as well. So therefore, there are so many careers that are now completely cut off from them being able to do in the future. And that's 78% of that group. My next statistic is around doctors, so the doctors here in the UK. So we're having to think about what percentage of the doctors that we see day in, day out come from a working class background. So not necessarily free school meals, just a working class background. So vote now on whether you think it's 4% or 14%. Just give you a moment to all cast your votes. Seems very strong in favour of one of those percentages. So you've all gone for 4%. Well, unfortunately, you're correct again. So 4%, just 4% of the doctors that we go and see come from a working class background. Many of you may also be from those backgrounds as well. So what's happened here? Essentially, it could have been the fact that a child was really excited to maybe be a doctor. They're really passionate about it. But then one year, they actually had a substitute science teacher for the whole year. The science teacher left. They were unable to fill that position. So they had a substitute teacher for the whole year and their grades dropped. They would no longer be able to do A-level chemistry and biology, or they were no longer able to apply for medicine at university. And this happens far too often to those children in disadvantaged areas, in those children in the poorest postcodes. So that really demonstrates what we mean by education inequality. So what's the solution? Well, at Teach First, we actively want to tackle this problem and change it through our training program. So our training program helps schools by providing and training great teachers to be in these schools so that every single pupil has a fantastic teacher standing in front of them, regardless of where they live in the country. And these great teachers turn into brilliant leaders, not only through our program, but other programs that we offer throughout your career. We also work with schools. Teach First is a massive charity, and we do far more than just our teacher training program for graduates. We have so many other things that we do, and we help these schools to thrive, to make the most of their resources, and to help work with our brilliant teachers. And it's that combination of things that mean that we're fighting to make our education system work for every child. So what is the program? Well, the training program, over the 2 years, you will work, train and qualify as a full-time member of staff in one of our partner schools. So where those statistics that we saw earlier are the most stark and the schools that need the most help. Over that time, you'll receive world-class training, not only from us, but also from the universities that we partner with to help you make the most of your qualification and receive all the top tips that you need. You're going to make a difference from day one in the classroom. This isn't the type of job role where you'll do the same thing day in, day out. You're not there making cups of tea. You'll have real responsibility for real lessons, real pupils, and real creativity from the off. And that's something which those that have done the program says really separates them out from their peers and made them progress far quicker in their careers. So over the 2 years, you will gain a fully funded postgraduate diploma in education and leadership, a PGDE. Now, you've probably heard of a PGCE before. Well, this encompasses everything that does, but it also has leadership as part of the qualification. Here at Teach First, we strongly believe that you cannot be a teacher if you can't lead, and therefore we give you those skills. One of the benefits of that larger qualification is that it's almost at a master's qualification. And in optional third year, you can top this up at a reduced cost. And that's really exciting because you'll be able to undertake a research project which directly links either to your school or your community. So you can impact real change through the research that you do. But of course, that is completely optional. You'll gain a salary from day one in the classroom, and you do not pay any fees at all for your qualification. You do not pay a penny across those 2 years. You'll gain invaluable transferable skills. That's one of the main things that this program offers you. These skills can be used to progress your career both inside and outside of the classroom. You'll get support from us, the school through a mentor, and our extensive professional network, which is over 15,000 strong and counting. You'll gain connections to our corporate partners, including Amazon, PwC, and Goldman Sachs. Many of these companies partner with us because of the amazing work that we do in the community, but also because of the excellence that we produce through our training program. And Jacob will talk more about our summer projects in a moment. And I'm now going to hand over to Jacob to talk about the application process.
Thank you so much, Catherine. So myself and my team, we are on hand to guide you through this application process. And at the point of opening an application, you will have a recruiter assigned to you. But really important, before you begin your application, please make sure you are eligible for our program. This information, and it's very complex, can be found on our website, and it's something that I can put into the chat bar for you momentarily. You'll need to submit an online application form with Teach First. And when you open an application, you will get support from one of our recruiters. We find that the best candidates we take calls with our recruiters. We have a competency-based application form where you'll be asked for, firstly, information about yourself and your academic qualifications. You will then be asked questions that allow you to demonstrate our key competencies. And finally, you will sit a situational judgment test, which is designed to assess how you'd respond to various scenarios that you will likely face in school. If successful at that point, you'll be invited to our selection day, which we refer to as our development centre. Before your development centre, you will have a call as well as be invited to a workshop by myself or my team in order to make sure you are as prepared as possible and have all the information you need to make sure you're successful on this day. On the day itself, you'll be interviewed by an assessor where you can also ask questions that you have. You'll attend a group task so that we can see how you interact with a group and come up with solutions. And finally, you'll teach a 4-minute teaching episode, which will give you the information about a week before your selection day so you can prepare for that thoroughly. If you're successful at this point, you will find out within 2 weeks of the development centre if you've been invited to join our training programme. So each person has a unique journey, but I'm going to take you through the key milestones now that all of our trainees will share across the training program. So the program kicks off with our Summer Institute, which is traditionally an intensive 5-week immersion into the theory and practice of teaching. Last year, we very proudly rolled out a part-time option for anybody that may have various commitments that aren't able to do a full-time 5-week program. However, we are looking to develop that into next year, and this will be an option for you. Developed in partnership with the UK's leading teacher training universities, this will give you the skills and knowledge you need to enter the classroom and find your feet as a teacher. You will then start working as a salaried teacher in September, with responsibility for real lessons and real pupils from day one. But don't worry, you will not be thrown in at the deep end. We support you every step of the way, including regular training days in partnership with the university delivering your qualification. At the end of year 1, you'll achieve qualified teacher status, which you may have heard as a QTS. This comes with a pay rise and be part way to your postgraduate diploma in education and leadership, as Catherine's already alluded to. From the high quality training and the strong support system that we offer, 99% of our trainees get grade 1 or 2 in their QTS ranking. As you transition to the second year, there are a few key milestones that I'd like to point out for you. The first being the period between your first and second year. Now, many of you will want that summer as a rest and as a chance for you to reset to start your second year. However, some of you may still want more. And during the summer, between your first and second year, you have the first opportunity to apply for a summer project. These are bespoke internships across a range of organisations and sectors, exclusively for Teach First trainees. They're a great opportunity to get to grips with a new challenge and experience different sectors, and they remain open to you each summer throughout your career. Our summer projects help to develop transferable skills, and some have previously led to offers of permanent employment. It's just one element of the vast professional networks available to you throughout the programme. Once you're in your second year, you'll return to the same school as an early careers teacher, previously known as a newly qualified teacher. Now you can really broaden your impact by taking the skills and experience that you gained in your first year and really applying them to make a difference to your pupils. You'll also gain a pay rise after gaining your qualified teacher status. By the end of your second year on the programme, you'll have completed the PGDE qualification and will become a Teach First ambassador, which is what we call trainees who complete the 2-year programme and meet the necessary requirements. You'll now be part of a community of driven, talented and like-minded individuals, which is currently 12,000 strong and is growing every year. We've mentioned already the amount of support that is available to you throughout the training programme. And I'd just like to show you at least 3 of those areas. Firstly, you'll have a mentor, which is an in-school point of contact, who will be able to guide your development on a daily basis. You'll also have a university tutor who will be on hand to help with your postgraduate diploma in education, your pedagogical study, as well as the specific guidance for in-class development. What stands Teach First out above other routes into teaching is you have an additional 3rd layer of support, and that is a Teach First development lead. Your development lead is a Teach First employee who is an ex-leader in school, who will be your ongoing point of contact throughout the training programme. They will be there to provide guidance to help you grow as a teacher, as well as a leader within your placement school, and then ultimately the education system as a whole. There is an important 4th layer of support that is actually not on screen at the moment, and they are your peers on the programme with you, as well as our ambassador community. The support that you will receive from, as well as give to, your fellow trainees is a crucial ingredient to Teach First success, and it's often an aspect of our programme that our ambassadors speak most fondly of when remembering their time as a trainee. So you will be placed within a particular region of which you will have a preference for, but is mostly guided by the greatest needs that we see as a charity. So you have the security of mind of knowing that the school you'll be placed in, you'll be making the greatest impact to. To bring this to life a little bit, I'd like to share some of my personal favourite stories of some of our past trainees and current ambassadors who have made an impact in their local schools. Firstly, James Hulse, who is an ambassador and physics teacher in the North East region. He almost went for an engineering grad scheme, but decided to teach to combat physics' bad reputation and encourage young people to love science. Since completing our training programme, he's worked his way up as an assistant head at his school in South Tyneside in the North East and has ambitions to become a head teacher. Moving slightly further south into the Yorkshire and Humber region, there is Sally Barker, who is a 2012 ambassador and is now part of the English leadership team at Dixon's Allerton. She's also one of the 2 ambassadors who have pioneered an initiative in Yorkshire and Humber called Brave Young Souls. It's a social venture working to empower young people to promote equality through a student-led social action project in schools across Bradford and Halifax. And finally, I'd like to point out to you Aaron Collingwood-Williams, who's working in our London region. Now, Aaron studied maths and economics at university and initially thought that his future lay working in big business in the city. But after his first year on the training programme, he knew he could have a more meaningful impact in the classroom. He's now an assistant principal at our John Keats Academy in London. And a quote from Aaron recently, when interviewed, said that my role in my school is more than just a teacher. I'm a leader. I'm a counsellor at times, and my role is also to model leadership to young people. As a young Black school leader, I'm aware that I am an example to them of what leadership should look like. These are just a select few examples of the amazing work that our ambassador community is doing on a daily basis. I'd now like to pass back to Catherine, who will tell you more about our ambassador community.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jacob. It's so wonderful to hear all those personal stories. And I really was reflecting on the physics trainee in particular. As you are probably aware, with certain subjects are sort of more in demand than others from schools, and physics is certainly one of those. In fact, there's a statistic which I find is always quite shocking, is that half of schools, half of mixed gendered state schools, don't have any girls doing A-level physics whatsoever. And so truly there are areas where having that representation in the classroom is so important. So our ambassadors, as you heard, we have so many people who've done the program. We've been around since 2002, and so far we've had 15,000 ambassadors come through our program, which do amazing work. In fact, this slide is already a bit out of date, as we have over 100 head teachers now to date that have come through our program. We have over 2,100 that are in school leadership positions, and 62% of those who still teach work in low-income areas. And that's so important to us, because that's obviously what we're all about. While we take on over 1,700 people every year, which is a massive amount, so there'll be so many other people starting the program with you, but we actually make up just 5% of the total teachers you start each year. But in fact, we make up 20% of those who work in low-income areas, which really shows the impact that we have. And it's so wonderful to see that so many of our ambassadors stay in those roles. So as you can see, our ambassadors go on to do amazing things within schools. And in fact, I have a question for you. So the question is, how many times more likely are Teach First ambassadors, so people who have done the Teach First program, to be in school senior leadership roles than their teaching peers? So how many times more likely are Teach First people to be in senior leadership roles as opposed to those who've done other teaching routes? So we'll put the poll up for you now, and I'll give you a little time to vote on that poll. So it's either 2 times or 7 times more likely to be in senior leadership positions. There we go. I can see the poll. Fabulous. Give you a little bit more time to vote on that. Okay, wonderful. So it seems like 75% of you are in the know. It is 7 times. You are 7 times more likely to be in a senior leadership position if you've done Teach First as opposed to other routes into teaching. And that doesn't happen by accident. Our training program is geared towards leadership. As we said, it's part of the qualification that you receive. But much more than that, we also run different programs that you can do later on in your career. So if you do the Teach First training program, that's not it. We don't say goodbye at those 2 years unless you want us to. There's several opportunities for you to come back to gain those skills to get you into senior leadership positions. Now, I've only been here for 3 years, but my first set of trainees, my first cohort of trainees have already gone through that process. And it was so wonderful to see that 2 of the trainees that I worked with, which is a very small proportion of trainees in the Southwest, 2 of them have been made head of departments, so head of geography and our head of languages in their first year after finishing the program, which just shows the excellence that happens on the program and the great skills that you learn to be able to get you into those senior leadership positions. So certainly if you're someone who's thinking, well, actually maybe one day I want to be a head teacher, maybe head of department, or, you know, I'm really interested in not only teaching, but the other aspects of being part of a school, because let's not forget, schools are a business. There's so many other things that you can do within a school environment. Then certainly we are the routes for you. Fantastic. So while we are obviously very proud of our achievements within the classroom, we realise that in order to affect change at a national level across the country in regards to schools, then we need people to go into so many different areas. The civil service, policymakers, all these different companies that require people who are passionate about what we do. So here we have Cyrus. Now, Cyrus did the program back in 2012, and he now works for Accenture. Cyrus actually did a summer project with Accenture, so there's no surprise there that he's gone on to work for them, and he's now in a management-based level. But Cyrus continues to help us and work with schools outside of the classroom. So he's a school governor, so impacting change on a particular school and giving them their expertise. He also runs the Accenture Teach First network. So as I said, all these different companies, all these companies that offer summer projects love to work with our trainees, and many people do go on to work in these companies. So much so that at Deloitte, PwC, Accenture, we actually have Teach First ambassador networks. And we're actually finding that people within those networks are again progressing far quicker in their careers than their peers at those companies. So he heads up that network, which is fantastic to still be part of that community. And he also offers business inspiration days as well. And what these are is it's an opportunity for disadvantaged schools and disadvantaged children to go into Accenture offices to see what it's like to work in those companies. An opportunity that otherwise these children would not have been able to experience. So it's so important that whilst we have people who stay in the classroom, that's fantastic. It's great that our ambassadors are going on to impact change across so many different sectors. In fact, in that 15,000 cohort that we've had people who've created their own charities. So Emmanuel, along with other Teach First ambassadors, set up Lighthouse, which aims to raise the attainment levels of children in the care system. So it's a great thing. Doing Teach First, you meet lots of like-minded people, as Jacob said, and then you're part of this ambassador network, which allows you to develop your career. I can guarantee that any route you're thinking of going to, one of our 15,000 ambassadors has probably done that as well. So a really great resource to have. And these are just some of the companies that work with us. And it's important to note that these companies work with us because of the great work we do as a charity outside of our program, along with what we do in the Teach First training program. And if you want to find more about what we do as a charity, do look at our Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook pages to find out a little bit more. And many of these companies obviously donate to us, which is fantastic to help us to be able to reach our goals, but they also offer you summer projects as well. And in fact, to date, PwC have welcomed over 150 of our ambassadors onto their graduate schemes as well. So lots of our ambassadors, as we said, enjoy these wonderful opportunities that these companies offer. So here's just a sort of final reminder of the benefits of the training program. So you get to be part of a movement that is changing lives and will change society. And in fact, we already are doing so. In 2002, we started in London. And since then, we have placed over 5,000 trainees in that area alone. And we have actively helped change it from one of the worst places to go to school in the country, so one of the worst attainment grades, into one of the best. And the government have cited Teach First as one of the main reasons for that. So we are impacting society, and now we just need to make sure that we're doing it across the country as we're finding more rural and coastal areas, obviously where some of those statistics are the most stark, where those gaps between rich and poor are the largest. It will be a challenging role with real responsibility from day one. We will not shy away from that. It will be a tough couple of years, but you will be well supported, as Jacob showed earlier. And you will have that real responsibility and a chance to learn so many transferable skills really quickly. You'll get access to professional development and a network of supporters, that ambassador network, which is so important, and of course, all those opportunities to progress your career later on. It will be a full-time salaried position for a minimum of 2 years. And I saw someone was asking about the salary in the chat. So in the first year, you're sort of around the sort of 20,000 mark. And then, of course, that does go up in the second year as you gain your qualified teacher status by about £5,000 or £6,000. And of course, after those 2 years, it will then most likely go up again, whether you stay in the same school that you've been placed in or you look elsewhere. But it is salaried from the start. You'll gain skills and leadership development, which are widely valued. As we saw, so many of our ambassadors go to so many other companies while they're excelling. So those skills are very much in need. And of course, producing a record number of head teachers as well. And you will gain a fully funded qualification, your postgraduate diploma in education, your PGDE. And this is an internationally recognized qualification as well. And many of our trainees do go on to teach abroad. So far, our ambassadors have impacted the lives of 1 million young people. But we are not done yet, not by a long shot. And that's why we need your help. Applications are now open for our training program, and it would be great to see many of you there. I'm now going to finish with one of our videos, which really demonstrates the importance of one teacher's impact on a student.
In Hull, so I grew up seeing my mum working really hard, my nan having her own business. Even though my dad was far away in Bristol, I had these two women that worked really, really hard and provided in like quite a challenging circumstance, and that inspired me. I guess my key motivator was my mum, and I think because growing up in Hull with just her as a single parent and watching her from when I was really young work a day job and then at night go out, and she trained as a youth worker counsellor, and she'd go out on the estates in Hull and just work all night doing that. So that motivated me then to go to uni and work hard. And some kids that I see day in day out don't have anyone that's doing that for them. So within the first month of working at school, I had one student and she never did her homework. One day I was in a conversation with her and I was like, what can we do to get you to do your homework? And she's like, if I'm honest, miss, can't I just stay after the lesson and do it then? So we set up a homework club, and every week after the lesson she'd stay and do her homework there and then, but occasionally she'd just pipe up with the odd question. And I knew she didn't have a mum that was around 4 hours a week. I'm probably the most stable thing in that girl's life.
The last thing I would say to you, if I were never to see you again, would be thank you for making me me.
Okay, so you've just seen what we're all about, and the next steps are to open your application. As Jacob told you through the process, the first step is to look at your eligibility on our website, which I know he's put in the chat, and then open an application, which we'll also put the link to in the chat as well. As we said, as soon as you open an application, either Jacob or one of his team will get in touch to take you through that process. After this session, we will be sending out an email, which will have the links as well, but do have a look in the chat and click on those now so you don't lose them, so you can go along to our website. Loads of information on our website about our application process, so do have a look and start your application today. It's really important that you do apply earlier, as we do fill spaces on a first come first serve basis. So there are certain subjects and certain locations across the country that are more popular, and they will close once they are full. So to guarantee that you get one of your first choices of subject and location, do apply as soon as possible. So that's everything from me. I know that there was quite a few questions going on in the chat box. So Jacob, should we answer some of those?
Absolutely. So I'm going to start with a couple that have come through in the Q&A session, and then I'm happily move over to the chat and answer some of the questions in there. The first one is a question from Anissa, and it's I think a really interesting question because I think we might actually differ slightly in our answers from our different roles. But what are the top 3 things that stand out to you in a candidate during the process? I think from the application management point of view, from the candidates that I meet and I speak with every day, the 3 things that come to mind is firstly an awareness of our vision as a charity and understand sort of why it is that we're doing what we're doing, and then also having a really good understanding of why it is that you want to be a teacher. It's fantastic when those two align. Doesn't always have to, but an understanding of where those two aspects will meet, I think, is always really important. Secondly, would be a willingness to engage with Teach First, particularly sort of speaking to our recruiters. There's a statistic that we recently discovered, actually, that you are 20% more likely to be successful for application stage by engaging with the application management team in particular. So it's always fantastic to see people who are sort of engaging with us and sort of getting back to us in our conversations to make sure their application is as strong as it can be. But finally, it would be the demonstration of our competencies. We have 8 competencies that you can find on our website, and they are the only things that we're ever looking at for the application process. They are the 8 different qualities that we look for and that we believe are the ingredients to become a fantastic teacher on our program. I have seen a question as well in the chat bar that asks about the different skills. That would be my answer. It is those 8 competencies that, when combined, create really powerful and exciting teachers that do make a difference. Is there anything you'd add to that from your point of view, Catherine?
Yeah, I completely agree. I was going to mention the 8 competencies and you beat me to it. So they're so vital for the application process. Just become an expert in those and really think of examples where you've used those competencies as well. That's what we like to see during the application process and beyond. And just in myself, when talking to the trainees that are coming onto the program, because once you've completed your application and you've been successful and you've been offered a particular subject and area, you'll come through to someone like me, and I'll be there to help you through that initial process right up until starting Summer Institute. So, we do get to sort of talk to you a lot about the program. And one of the things that I really love is just, as I said, to see that passion, to see that excitement, whether that be for your subject or teaching children. It's great to see that. So just make sure that comes through and you really understand what we're about, our school needs, when you enter that application process, because that will be a thread running throughout those 2 years.
Thank you. Another question here is from Michelle, and it's, would the students be recommended for work for these companies once they finish their program? I believe this question came through when talking about a lot of our partner companies and the companies that work with us. So are our ambassadors required or recommended to work for partner companies?
Yes, that's a really good question. So essentially, when doing a summer project with these companies, obviously they get to see what you're like. There's a reason that they have these exclusive opportunities for Teach First trainees, is because they love the quality of what you have after being on the program. So while on those summer projects, it's not uncommon that people might be offered job roles that they get to defer for a year whilst they finish the Teach First program, or even later on down the line, if you wish to go back to these particular companies, they always value the experience that they've had with our summer projects and the skills that you've shown. So essentially, these summer projects and the work that we do with these companies are a great way for you to get your foot in the door to other companies if you choose to move on from teaching afterwards. So that's sort of how they work. It's just a great opportunity for you to demonstrate your skills, and they love you, and they will often offer job roles either then or later on down the line.
Brilliant. So on to the chat bar now. How much of the training is done remotely?
So it's a really good point, and it's sort of changed a bit year on year. So I can't say exactly what it will look like for 2023, but the 5-week Summer Institute is largely done online, and this is just for flexibility on your own part. You don't want to be confined to sort of an office or a room for that length of time. We'll have different sessions throughout the day. You won't be on Zoom 9 till 5. Don't worry. Different interactive sessions throughout the day that you can do online from your home environment. But we do also have in-person days where you'll be going into schools to observe lessons, to learn your craft, and of course meeting your school as well during that 5-week period. So while the bulk of that particular training is online, then there will be opportunities for you to meet in person. Then throughout the program, there will be both online sessions and in-person sessions to train you throughout those 2 years as well.
Does Teach First offer any funding to support me into teaching?
So obviously the course is salaried, basically. So that is the funding. So on your first day of school, you've signed a contract. You are working with this school, so you are earning the salaries that I alluded to during the presentation. So that is the funding that you would receive. There are other hardship-based funds or technical funds during the training process if you are experiencing difficulties with those. But obviously it's a job. You are earning a wage during those whole 2 years.
I think the next question may have been answered throughout the presentation, but we can clarify it anyway. Will I need QTS for the program, or will I get this qualification during the program? Yes, you will receive your qualified teacher status at the end of your first year of the program. So it's not something you need. And in fact, you don't need previous teaching experience to be successful with Teach First. We're very confident in our ability as a teacher training program in order to provide you with the experience that you need. So it's not essential. However, you get opportunity to get some experience. It is also very, very important. Okay, so can you please clarify what you meant by the program is almost a master's degree, please, Catherine?
Yes, so the postgraduate diploma in education that you receive after the 2 years is 80% of a master's. So it's a very large qualification. As we said, it's worth double the credits of the PGCE that you often get through a university route. So you're almost at a master's, and if you wanted to, you can top that up in an additional 3rd year to a master's. So during your 2nd year with us, there'll be the opportunity, there'll be sort of a, it'll be in, you receive regular contact with us, but it'll be in one of our bulletins. It will talk about the opportunity to do a master's, and then you can sort of sign up and say, yes, this is something I'm interested in doing, and then do that in an optional 3rd year. It's important to note that you actually don't need to do this master's directly after you finish those 2 years. You can come back to it a bit later on if you wished, but it kind of just makes sense. You also don't actually have to be in education to complete it, but it does help. So in an optional 3rd year, as I said, you can decide to do that master's where you'll be undertaking a research project. This research project, just for reference, is around about sort of 15,000 words. So it's a research project where you'll get to look at things directly impacting the community. As long as it's related to education, you can frankly do it in whatever it is that you want to do. But we've had people who have taken this master's opportunities to work with problems that are in their school. So for example, one of our trainees, they in the school that they were noticed that there was really poor parental engagement with the school. So they did their research project around that. We've also had people who have taken their research projects to very exotic places like Dubai, where they've compared the education systems between the two of them, and also research projects sort of around different communities. So in particular, one of our trainees was working there with a very large refugee community, so they did their research project around their attainment and how they interact with schools. So real great opportunity for creativity with that master's project, but as I said, as long as it links to education, but it is completely optional. So you can finish at your postgraduate diploma in education, where you have everything that you'll need to go on to be a teacher and to teach abroad, or you can top that up to a master's, and many people decide to do so, and they really enjoy the creativity of that research project.
Thank you. Is the program for primary school or secondary or both? Quite happy to answer that one. It is for both, but I will let you know at this stage that our primary cohort year on year is a fairly small cohort in comparison to the size of the secondary cohort that we recruit. We are a charity that goes based on the need of the schools that we have registered with us, and that need is apparently heavily balanced towards secondary teachers. So if you are secondary eligible, that's likely going to be an area that we can offer you. However, do not sort of let that put you off in any way. Open an application if you're eligible and speak with myself and my team. We will be able to guide you in terms of where the need is and what you'll be eligible to teach once you've checked your sort of basic eligibility, and the link is in the chat bar. Okay, so have you two ever been a teacher? And if so, what was the best thing about it? Can you help answer that question, Catherine?
Yes, I was. I was a science teacher. I didn't go through the Teach First route because I didn't know about it, to be honest, but some of my friends did after uni, and they excelled very well in their careers. So for me, it's just I'm trying to think of one particular instance, but it's just the comedy that comes out of secondary school children. They're just hilarious. There wasn't a day where I wasn't enjoying the stuff that they come out with, the way that they see the world, the questions they ask. I just think that is a really enjoyable aspect of being a teacher. And if you are sort of our ambassador community, there's just so many of those fantastic stories from children just really enjoying the subject, and especially in science, whenever we did a practical, they absolutely loved it. So definitely that's the benefit of being a science teacher. We've got all those wonderful practicals to do. But that was just really enjoyable. Like, I've never laughed in any job as hard as that. So that is definitely my memories from the classroom.
I wasn't a teacher. I haven't been a teacher. I came to Teach First much through a specific recruitment, but most importantly, a vision aligned background. So I previously managed job centres in Birmingham city centre, where I saw firsthand the impact that sort of living in underrepresented and poorer communities can have, particularly in terms of employment. This led to me to lead a career in specifically secondary school teaching, where I specialised in recruiting newly qualified teachers. I came across Teach First really as a competitor more than anything at that stage, and really sort of found out from the other side of things just how employable Teach First trainees were, and how incredible the amount of training and support that these teachers got in comparison to other routes. I felt, why beat them? If I can't beat them, join them. And I joined the team about 3 years ago from that background. Okay, as we move through the questions, there's what would you say a good teacher looks like? We've answered that, I think, with the competency, the most important aspect of what we're looking for. Catherine, is this part of the government's Train to Teach scheme?
So we're separate from the government. So obviously there's the university, there's different routes you can go into teaching. There's sort of more university-based routes, but we are a charity in our sort of own organisation. So we are a separate route into teaching, but obviously gaining a equal, if not more, qualification on that. So any qualification you can do through any other route is equal to ours, or we do more. So therefore, there'll be no issues in terms of going forward, but we are different. We are separate from the government.
Okay. Can I do this if I have a degree from the year 2000 in business management? I would like to change careers. When I joined Teach First, it was with our experienced hires team. Before I sort of moved over to within university recruitment in particular, I can say categorically yes. There is no end dates. You're never too old. Please change career and look at teaching. If anything, I think there's a real value of changing career in terms of bringing what you've learned, no doubt, across your career into the classroom. So absolutely, we would welcome an application from you. Okay, so what type of support does the development lead give you? Catherine, would you like to give an insight on the role of a development lead?
Yes, the development lead is essentially your main point of contact throughout those 2 years here at Teach First. As Jacob said, they're someone who has previously been a teacher, and they are trained to teach you how to be a teacher as well. So this will range from things like observing your lessons. You'll have meetings with them on a regular basis. If there's anything that you want to bring up, sort of, oh, I haven't quite understood this, then you will discuss that with them. So there will be continued meetings and support throughout your 2 years. They're essentially your go-to person. They'll observe your lessons. They'll give you great feedback. They'll help you with your sort of coursework and things like that. So that's essentially their role. And as we said, you also have the mentor in school to help you with very school-specific things as well. So sort of, well, how do I, book in a session or something like that? How do I use the computer system? Where do I go for this? That's your mentor, and the development lead will be able to help you with your coursework and your Teach First journey, essentially.
So a question as well here, talking about our taster program. So I saw you have taster programs on your website. Can I do this first? And if I can, what are the benefits?
So the taster program is offered to undergraduate students in their first, second and penultimate year of study at university. So if you are currently in your final year at university, unfortunately this isn't available to you. It's just a 2-day program to give you a taste of what it is like to be a teacher and to give you some sort of transferable skills. But it is purely for the younger years. We are open now for applications for that as well. So if anyone is in their first, second year of university, we are open for applications for our 2-day taster, which really upskills you in many different aspects, and also gives you a taste of what it's like to be at Teach First. But if you are in your final year or older, then unfortunately that is not on offer for you at the moment.
So, a little bit more clarity has also been asked for about how Teach First links to PwC. But also it might be a good opportunity to talk a little bit more about sort of how we sort of link generally with our partners.
Yeah, so I think we sort of discussed quite at large how we link with our partners throughout that presentation. So the partners do sort of help us in many ways with our vision and our mission to end education inequality. But as I said, they work in regards to having the summer projects and things such as that. So it's that sort of link between that summer projects and then potential job opportunities is how we work with these companies, including PwC, but also in a greater aspect as a charity. Do you have anything to add on that at all, Jacob?
Not particularly. I think you summed that up really well, actually. Couldn't have done better myself. Okay, so I think the final question that we have here is there an option to specialise in a subject with Teach First? Happy to answer that, and the answer is yes. In primary school teaching, you will be a year teacher, so you'll be a particular year group in your key stage. However, secondary, you will teach one specific subject. You will be part of a cohort within your region of those specialist subjects. That could be science, maths, computing, geography, English, and the list does go on. We don't offer every single subject that you will see across the national curriculum, but the ones that are in the greatest need. You can teach primarily from your degree. However, there are also certain A-levels that will allow you to access certain subjects with our programme. Another fairly shameless plug, my team and myself will be able to go through your individual qualifications to give you a really good understanding of not just what you're able to teach, but why you're able to teach it, and also the sort of impact that you can have. I think one of the greatest asset of the diploma in education, your PGDE, is it's actually a non-subject specific qualification, whereas other routes into the classroom are you will have a PGCE hypothetically in English. The PGDE isn't classified in that way, so it actually allows you to teach any subject that you have the qualifications to teach. So that is your A-levels and your degree. So reach out to us, engage with us, and we'll be able to give you much more clarity around the sort of subject you can teach with Teach First.
Yeah, fantastic. And just to sort of add to that, while obviously, as you said, it is a universal qualification. So if you do have sort of several subjects you're expert in, if you've got, you've got your maths, you've got your science, you've got all these different subjects, it doesn't prevent you from changing subjects after the program if potentially you've got more than just a subject that we have aligned to you. And it's important to note with things like languages, if you've got sort of French and Spanish, then obviously we'd love you to teach both of those. We're not gonna make you choose between those. So yeah, there's lots of scope. And as I said, talk to Jacob's team about your specialties. If you have lots of subjects that you've got either through A-level or your degree, then fantastic. It makes you far more in demand.
And the final thing on that PGDE point, it's not just between specialities either, it will also be between key stages. So as I mentioned earlier, key stage 3 in secondary is a particular area of need for us right now. However, you would then also, if you trained with secondary, be eligible to go and teach primary following on as an ambassador, the 2-year programme. And actually we have some fantastic success stories of where trainees have trained in a secondary environment and then transitioned to primary and made a significant impact, particularly in the key stage 2 pupils, in terms of not just preparing them academically for a huge jump from year 6 to year 7, but also socially as well, to help set a lot of the perimeters and boundaries, particularly when you consider the 11-year-olds or so in key stage 2 are about to, in the course of one summer, start walking corridors of 16-year-olds. It is a huge change socially, and you can help do that by learning the secondary environment first and then move into primary. Yeah, I think that's the final question for us, Catherine.
Yeah, fantastic. Just to reiterate that obviously the links there are in the chat to our training program, and early applications are strongly advised. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And such an insightful presentation and really inspiring as well. I felt like very inspired to become a teacher myself, even though I might be a little late for this program. But yeah, make sure you grab those links that are in the chat. There will also be an email that goes out afterwards with the recording and also with a link to those pages again. So you'll be able to get the link there if you don't already have it here. And yeah, that's it and from us. And thank you so much for your presentation again. Thanks so much for coming. And if you're coming back to more events this week, hope to see you there. And otherwise, thank you again and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All the best.